definitely done some sort of countdown or something. But welcome to the first episode of MEmoTalks, working podcast title. Super excited. Today I have joining me Chey, who on my screen is below, and Dillon, who's over to this side. So Chey, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. I'm Chey. I live in Seattle by myself. I am a professional organizer and I'm currently studying interior design. I do not do any streaming or anything cool like that, but I love Memo, so I'm here.
Interior design is pretty cool, though. I had no idea that you were into that. That's awesome.
Yeah, I'm almost done with it. A couple more months.
Nice, nice. Oh yeah, those are the classes that you're taking,
Yeah, kill me.
right? You're almost done. You're almost done.
I know.
And
It's just weird having homework as a almost 20-something year old.
I mean, it's progress. I think that's always a good thing.
True. Learning something new.
Exactly. All right, and Dylan, why don't you introduce yourself?
My name is Dillon. I am currently working at Micro Center, Denver, Colorado. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Just working my life away.
Awesome. And for those people who don't know, Micro Center is like a how would you describe Micro Center? I would say Best Buy Light, but that apparently offends Micro Center. So
I mean, you're not far off from it. It's technology, basically. More stuff, more like computer components than Best Buy, but pretty much the same thing.
Mm-hmm. And you fix computers there, right?
Yes, me and Marcus are technicians at Micro Center. Yep.
Nice. So so whenever things break, Chey, you can contact Dylan. I'm making that bridge for you guys, okay?
Oh, I will 100% take advantage of that.
I got you.
All right, so today is just gonna kind of be like more of like a loose kind of conversation, I guess. But I did want to start out talking about some pretty big news that is, I guess, in the pipeline. I don't remember the exact date, but in the next couple of weeks, there's going to be a COVID vaccine actually available for people who are at risk, and that just kind of like made me like kind of like reflect and like what did if I don't know about you guys, but I definitely like set goals for myself at the beginning of the pandemic. Like I wanted to get this done. I want to get this done. I'm gonna be working from home, so I would like to do this more, and I just kind of wanted to reflect on like kind of like a New Year's resolution, but like pandemic version, new pandemic resolution. Did you meet those? Did you meet those things if you made them? And yeah, I guess I'll go ahead and start this one. The beginning of the pandemic, I told myself that I was actually going to stream more, and I did. I have been. I'm actually pretty proud of that. I did also say that I was going to work out more, and that did not last for very long. But yeah, I say one of two is pretty good. But yeah, just kind of like I don't know, learn to spend time with yourself. That's something I think I definitely learned this pandemic. You know what I mean? What about you guys, Dylan? Did you make any goals for yourself?
Not really, honestly. I mean, I've been working. I've been, just out here on the grind. But as far as goals go, not really. I mean, I wanted to start streaming more, but that's kind of limited with how often I work. So, it really did be like that.
Okay.
Yeah, see, I was the total opposite.
What did you do?
So I've had 2 jobs for the last 9 years. So I've basically had no life and no free time. So when one of my jobs closed for COVID, I took full advantage of it. For like the first month, I was lazy and did absolutely nothing. But then after that, it kind of set in, and I was like, okay, actually, we got to do something with myself. And I gave myself a ton of goals, and I actually hit pretty much all of them. Like you, I made it my goal to exercise more, and I did that really great for 3 months. And then I kind of just died on that one, which I feel like is what everybody does with exercise. So I don't feel too bad about it. But I gave myself the goal of making sure that I did something productive every day when I was home, just to make sure I didn't really like fall into a rut. I know a lot of people who like their houses were a disaster and they weren't showering or anything like that. And I was like, that's not going to be me. So I made my goal to learn something new every day, to better myself in one way, and then to do one thing productive every day. And, I tried to vary it depending on, what I had done the day before, what I had going on with work and whatnot. But it was really fun, honestly. And I really enjoyed having the free time.
Yeah, that's really cool. I guess I guess my story is kind of gonna kind of tie into a question I had for Dylan. When the podcast had first started, actually, so I'm working at a company. I think it's okay for me to say it. It's called Gusto. You can Google it. They're a huge company. Basically, they're like an ADP competitor, but like more like a startup, and a lot more ethical. I would say. I mean, I'm an employee there, so I feel like that's just my feelings because I see how hard they work and everything. But
Yeah, so
I
you're like
was
slightly biased.
yeah, exactly. No, it's true. It's true. I do have a slight bias towards them because I love the company. I love working there. But I was actually working at Gusto as a contractor last year, and my contract ended in January. And so I was unfortunately unprepared for the contract ending, and I was unemployed through January, February, March when the pandemic hit. I was still unemployed. um, so I was one of those unfortunate people that was unemployed before the pandemic, still looking for a job. Um, Thankfully though, I did start working at Micro Center with Dylan, not in the same department. I was a cashier, which was very new for me because I went basically from like before I worked at Gusto, I was a sales supervisor at VisionWorks, and which is an eyeglass company. If you don't have that, where you guys are, and then I went into like basically data entry and like getting people set up with insurance and things like that to suddenly like being a cashier and like kind of being the front line in the very beginning, like the thick of the COVID pandemic, and it was an experience. It was crazy to me that they didn't shut down. And I think while I was in the midst of it, I was appreciative. But looking back, I was like, I think more along the lines of they should not have been open. I like it was a crazy situation. There was a lot of the cashiers were at risk individuals. And it was just shocking to me that they didn't like they did a lot to help protect the employees, but I just kind of felt like shut down. Like even for a couple of weeks, like you're a big enough company where it wouldn't like make a huge impact on you. So I guess Dylan, how have you felt basically working at a retail environment the entire duration of the pandemic?
I mean, it's retail. I mean, they're not going to shut down. They don't. They want to help people, and it's for the greater good. I mean, if you've seen the lines outside and the people that come to Micro Center, it's the people that are working from home, such as yourself, that need that help. Whether it be getting their computer fixed, needing monitors, needing web cameras, stuff like that to help like school and work. It all comes together. No, I do agree with your point that I mean, it they definitely should have shut down. They should have done something amidst that to help better protect their employees. But I mean, it's still going to be there. And we're essential. So.
I think above all, COVID has really shown people what really is essential. Like, if you had asked people last year, do you think that a computer tech person is essential? They'd be like, no. And now it's like, yeah, it's highly essential. Having technology that functions and work when we all have to be separated is paramount right now. And I feel like it's opened a lot of people's eyes to not just that field, but all the fields that are truly essential and how useless the rest of the world is and how undervalued those people are.
I I agree with you 100%. I mean, yeah, all those people who were arguing against raising minimum wage for retail workers, you they basically made sure that you and your family did not starve or like go without work because your computer wasn't working. For the absolute duration of the pandemic, and I can kind of see both ways of it. I just hope that there's more of an appreciative spirit for people who work in retail, because I definitely feel like before now that has definitely been lacking severely. See, being somebody who had to deal with, I was again, I was a retail supervisor at VisionWorks, having to deal with the people who basically treated my employees like they were less than because they were basically a salesperson at a not top of the line eyeglass store. And I really do hope, like VisionWorks shut down for several months, and I can only imagine people who ran out of contacts, maybe broke their glasses, needed an eye exam, like maybe got something in their eye. Like, you can't go to a regular hospital for those types of things. You have to go to a specialized place,
Oh, absolutely.
which is shut down because of the pandemic. I really just hope that, like, yeah, people are more appreciative of the types of services that they are provided by people who work in these types of places.
100%.
Yeah, I agree. I also wish that businesses would have taken a bit more responsibility, the places who did stay open. For example, in the case of glasses, I went to have an eye exam last week, and I was so appreciative of the way that they did things. When you got there, you had to call them and stay in your car and let them know that you were here. They came out to your car when they were ready for your appointment. They kept you with one person the whole time, so you weren't talking to 18 different staff members. They were sanitizing everything between. There was no other people in there. And a lot of people are going to complain about that and be like, "Oh, it's such a hassle." But it's like, is it really a hassle to stop people from getting sick and potentially dying, and then getting their family members sick, and then like having the endless cycle? And I just wish more businesses would have done stuff like that, because that's the first business that I've been to that really made big changes and like took a lot of extra steps to protect their employees and their customers.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I don't want to sit here and say that Micro Center did not do anything to protect the customers and the employees. They definitely made a big effort. For the most part, I did feel relatively safe, and I worked there for what, 3 4 months, with not a super long time, but I didn't get sick. I didn't get sick once. As a matter of fact, the only COVID scare that I got was months later when while I was working from home and I didn't leave my apartment. It was 'cause that was, at that point, it was completely on my hands. But I mean, like, they offered gloves. They made sure that every single customer that was coming into the store was sanitizing their hands. They had a station set up for people sanitizing, like for people to sanitize computers that they're bringing into Dylan's department for like servicing. And they put like plastic dividers at every single register, and basically made sure that all the employees had hand sanitizers, so that, like, and they also stopped accepting cash, which I wish was still going on. They're accepting cash now, but I definitely wish that was still going on. Because cash is one of the one of the dirtiest things that we carry with ourselves, like,
Oh, yeah.
every day.
I don't understand why that stopped. I feel like, at least from what I saw at the beginning of the pandemic, nobody was accepting cash. Like, you had to do card transactions, and then suddenly it's just like, oh yeah, we don't care anymore. Never mind, cash is fine. I don't understand how that happened.
It's
Go ahead, Dylan.
yeah. It's I don't know. I mean, so many people were getting turned away because that's their only payment method was cash. People who don't believe in banking, people who don't believe in really any of that stuff, they'd rather have that $1,000 sitting under their mattress at home, and that's what they want to do and want to pay with. And the fact that no one was taking that, they had to appease some of those people. And it is the dirtiest thing we have probably in our pockets right now, but it's something that they just can't go without.
I mean, at what point in time, though, do we tell people, like, it's 2020? You need
Yes,
to have a credit
Yeah.
debit card. You don't have
Yeah.
to keep all your bank account in there, but you need to
Yeah.
have one in case of emergencies like this.
Mhm.
Yeah, exactly. So, I have 2 points that I wanted to bring up. One, if you don't believe in banking, what are you doing buying computers? I mean, like, a bank is basically a giant, massive financial computer that is holding your data. Like, I bring that up because I ran into several customers who, after I rang out, like, I scanned all their items and I was like, that'll be, $275 or whatever the amount was. they would like whip out like bills, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we're not accepting cash. And they're like, well, I don't believe in keeping my money in a bank where the computers can do this and this. It's like, sir, you're buying a laptop. Like, what do you like? What is the difference? Where do we draw the line between the conspiracy of banks, running our capital and just you know uh, laptops running our lives? Always thought that was really funny, and I still think it's very funny that people have that like differentiating viewpoint on it for some reason.
Yeah.
And then I forgot the other point that I was going to bring up, so we'll just move.
Okay. Well, I was also going to say, I wanted to wait for you to finish your other point. If you go with a big bank, like obviously don't go with like a shady bank that's not a chain, but if you go with any of the big banks, you know what I mean? What are they going to do? Steal millions of people's money and just try and make off with it? Like, you're fine. You're safe. It's not like these companies have to follow laws and there's all these rules that they have to abide by so that your money is safe and you know that they can't tamper with it. It's really, I just don't understand why people are so against it.
Yeah, and then I actually remembered my other point.
Oh,
I don't know if you have Chey. I don't know if they have Voodoo Donuts in Seattle. Um,
no.
it's basically a donut shop, but they have like crazy flavors and like shapes. Like I think it's a little inappropriate, but I think that their most common donut shape is literally like it's called cock and balls, and it's like it's a penis. It you know what I mean? So that kind of like tells you the type of like store that it is, I guess. And they've never accepted cash. No, yeah, do they not accept cash? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't accept cash. They never have. And it's like they're not struggling. Like I don't get why more businesses don't just move to that, because it's honestly like I feel nervous when I have money in my wallet, because
Hmm.
it's so much easier to like drop a $20 bill and then just like, oh wait, you're out $20. Whereas if I were to drop my credit card someplace, I can just call my bank and be like, hey, I lost my credit card, and they would go over my recent transactions, and I can be like, that one I did not make, and they would reverse it automatically. So it's like there's so much, like, for me at least. Of course, I am a millennial. I am a slave to technology, but like for me, it seems like it's just so much easier and so much more secure to have that technology.
Well, not only
Especially,
more secure, but more efficient as well. Like you
yeah.
said, if you drop your card and you realize it, you immediately call and they turn it off and
Hmm.
done. Boom. Same thing. If you lose your wallet, you call all the bank cards, however many, whatever, and they're done, and no one's going to take your stuff. Whereas if you drop your wallet with $1,000 in it, you're out $1,000. Like, you're
Exactly.
not getting that money back.
Yeah,
And
it's crazy. It's crazy to me that people are still so adverse to this like new wave of technology that is literally designed to make your life easier.
simpler, yeah. Well, and to touch on what you said earlier too about how some people are just so against it and why some businesses don't do it, I think it really comes down to wanting to profit, honestly, because they know that if they do only card, they're going to lose out on those people who refuse to use cash. And I think it goes the same way though. Like, I try really hard to support local businesses here instead of chains, and there's a little taco truck that's always parked around the corner from my house. And every time I drive by it, I'm like, "Oh, I should stop and get a taco." And then I remember they're cash only, and I'm like, "You're stupid. Go buy the little card swipey thing. It's like $10 and run card transactions. I don't have cash. I'm not going to a bank out of my way to get cash so I can buy a taco from you."
Yeah. Yeah, it's and like, you just kind of going back to my work history, I did also work at a credit card processor. Now, before you guys get angry, credit card processor is different than like credit card collections. Basically, what I did is I worked in a technical support call center for fixing credit card terminals, like that small businesses use, basically. And and I cannot tell you the amount of people who like would call in, once a month because they get their bill, and like they would like get angry that they were charged 1%, of their revenue, and be like, well, you know what, I'm just going to shut this down because Square will let me run transactions for free, which, by the way, is not true. Square does not let you run transactions for free. Stop switching to them. um, but like they advertise themselves as free processing, and really what like it's super cheap. Like it's like across the board, running transactions. Yes, you don't get to keep 100% of your profits, but it's such like they take such a small amount of money that it will not business unless. And I just want to say, if you're a business owner and you're running that close to absolute zero, you should probably rethink your business plan because that
Mhm.
is not sustainable.
Mhm. No, I agree.
What do
Maybe
you think?
that's what deters some of the older people is that, you have to be able to read the fine lines and know that, like, yeah, they say it's free, but it's not actually like entirely free.
Yeah, I know personally because I had to work with billing a lot when I was there. Most processors will like take a percentage of every transaction, and like let's say you run a decline transaction, they'll charge like 5 cents to use the network to get the decline, which is, I mean, you don't get declines enough for that to be impactful, but like most processors will take a percentage of, whatever your volume is. And your volume is only for credit cards. If you're accepting both, whatever. But what Square does is they will show you, they'll actually deposit your full amount like into your bank account. Like, oh look, you ran $1,000, we put $1,000 into your bank account. And then at the end of the month they're like, so you had 12 deposits this month, and we have a deposit fee of $10, and there's also network processing fees, which is 5% of that every single $1,000 that we put into your account, and like this and that and everything, and like, oh, and we also have an administrator fee of $75 that we charge quarterly, even though it's called our annual administrative fee. Like, just like all kinds of different things. And so like I had to deal with that so often. But yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the things that it does scare like older business owners from accepting credit cards is those hidden fees that like really major in your face processors charge, like Square. I can almost guarantee that most of those people get Square, see how much they're being charged, and they feel like they're being ripped off, and then they swear off processing credit cards altogether, which is not great. It's not great. And I do, it's like to kind of like throw it back in the face of older people who say that our generation is ruining businesses. That's a very anti millennial thing to do, is not accept credit cards at your business, because I know that I'm probably not going to go there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were talking about COVID, and then we got
Oh
to
yeah. So back, yeah, to the vaccine that started all of the conversation.
yes, exactly. Let's get back to the vaccine. Let's talk about something good. Did you have something to say?
No, I wanted to make sure
Oh,
we got back to that because I know that was like our starting point, and now we've
yeah.
we've
Yes.
wandered.
Yeah. So
Oh
I
dear.
I feel like there's a lot of like talk about people like I guess it's kind of going back to what we had before the pandemic, anti-vaxxers talking about the vaccine and probably not getting it. Are you guys planning on getting the vaccine once it's made available to you? You can say no. I mean, no judgment. You can say no.
Dylan, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'd probably hold off at first just to see, kind of what the side effects are and, how it affects people. But I think they are going a step in the right direction with putting that out there, and especially for people who are at high risk for it. It's something that is long overdue now. It's what, we're 9 months into this.
Only nine
It needs.
months.
Well,
It might
we're
be more.
9 months into a full-blown pandemic. We're
Yeah.
over a year into COVID.
That's true.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, but yeah, I mean, it just comes down to having that vaccine and just waiting for people to try it out first, seeing what comes of it. If it actually is effective, or if it's just one of those things that's cash cow. But
Mhm. Well, and like anything that's rushed, it's not going to be perfect right off the bat. And I hope everybody acknowledges and recognizes that who does go to get it. obviously they're trying to push it out as quickly as they can, which is amazing, and like, kudos to the doctors, but it's not going to be a perfect cure. It's not going to be great right off the bat.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. I personally would like to get a coronavirus vaccine when it is made available to non-priority patients, but I would also like to get a flu shot every year, and I definitely do not do that. So,
I haven't got a flu shot yet. Thanks for reminding me.
I actually did want to get a flu shot this year because it's like, okay, I don't want to have to deal with 2 different flus, but still haven't gotten it. I haven't gotten a flu shot. Ooh, this is gonna make me look really bad. I haven't gotten a flu shot in like maybe 6-7 years. It's been a very
I feel
long
like
time.
most people do, though. I feel like most people end up saying they'll get them and then they don't.
Yeah, no, actually, that's 100% me. I never. It's so stupid because when I worked at the call center, they literally had like they would like bring a truck and be like, "Hey, they're giving out free flu shots to anybody who has like the healthcare through the company that you're working at currently. Go down there and get your flu shot and then just come back to work or whatever, or like go home if you need to, if you're one of the people that like kind of like affects a little bit more." And I never went. They were bringing it to me. They were like, "Here you go. Here, take it. Take the flu vaccine." And I still wouldn't do it. So I don't know what's wrong with me. I'm always like, yeah, let's do it. Like, be healthy, be safe, be this, be that, and then I don't. So I want to get the flu vaccine, but like I know myself enough to know that I'm probably not, and that's not good. But I'm for it. I'm definitely not against the flu vaccine or the coronavirus vaccine.
Yeah, I'm the same. I probably won't get it immediately as soon as it's available. And forgive my ignorance here. Have they announced if it's going to be free, or are people going to be charged for it? Have they said yet?
I think the last thing I actually personally saw about that was that the companies that had the vaccine were basically like applying for like emergency implementation, which means that the government would pay for it. But I don't know if any of them were actually granted that.
Okay, yeah, interesting.
Yeah. The Medicare payment rates will be $28.39 to administer a single dose vaccine. And then it requires a series of 2 or more doses. The initial dose payment would be $16.94 and $28.39 for the administration of the final dose in the series.
And that's roughly $100.
That's through Medicaid?
That's through Medicaid. Medicare.
Well, Medicaid, the same freaking thing, just different ages. But that's crazy. That's like pretty like surprising to me that they're not gonna like make it more accessible, because I do personally feel, I mean, I guess I could say it's probably a fact at this point that the coronavirus has definitely affected lower class people way more than it has affected anybody else. I'm kind of surprised I'm kind of surprised that they're not making it more like financially available to lower class citizens. That's kind of shocking to me. I didn't expect that.
Really, is it though? Because that's America in a nutshell. The rich get taken care of and the poor are kind of shoved underneath.
Yeah,
that's not surprising to me at all, and that's why I wanted to ask. I hadn't seen if it was going to be charged for or not. I just assumed it would, because that's just how our healthcare system is. But it just goes to show you that the corporations and people who run the country care more about making sure that they profit off something than making sure that we're all okay.
Yeah, and I will say, full on shade, I'm a little bit upset that Pfizer is basically one of the big runners in bringing the vaccine, because I mean, I guess most pharmaceutical companies are for profit, but Pfizer is like for profit, like 5,000% inflation on a pill that should cost 25 cents. Like, yeah, just I was a little upset when it was like yay, Pfizer's here to save us, and it was like, oh no, like come on, anybody else, like let's
anybody else.
Yeah, like let's one of those universities, like University of Minnesota. I want the, you know what I mean, like somebody else, like anybody, like Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I was a little upset when I saw that it was Pfizer that was like spearheading that. But again, super happy that there is going to be a vaccine. I know that I think the last numbers that I had seen in regards to how effective it um, was like in the range of 80 to 95. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like yeah, 80 to 95 effective rate, and that is amazing.
Yeah, that's really high.
Yeah.
One thing, I guess. Sorry. Um, the Pfizer CEO, I don't know if you guys heard, he sold $5.6 million of his stock in his company last month, uh, prior to announcing the vaccine. I don't
Prior
know.
to announcing.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know how sketchy that seems, but I don't know.
Oh, you mean just like how back in March, right before everybody shut down, all the big wigs were selling their stocks?
That's
Yeah,
true. Yeah,
yeah.
it was there's
Yeah.
definitely some insider trading going on there. I yeah, it is a little bit um it is a little bit strange to hear that he sold all that before the announcement. I would think that he would wait until after the announcement when those stock prices were going up. But if he
Mhm.
sold it before, I don't know, maybe that could be one of two things, I guess in my mind. That could be either um complete outsider trading, like he you know what I mean, like he wanted to get a little bit of money and he like didn't know that they were announcing or he knows that it's going to be a horrible disaster and he wanted to get
Yeah.
some coin beforehand, which I don't know. I Pfizer's not the only one with a vaccine, so if that one is a shit show, then there's what, two, three others that are going to be releasing around the same time. So
BioNTech is one company that's releasing one. I don't know the other company though.
yeah,
I was really hoping that, like you said, a university or some students or, just something that wasn't a huge corporation was going to be able to come up with it, just because I know we have so many bright students, but
yeah.
unfortunately it doesn't appear to be the case.
Well, and no shade to the University of Minnesota. I was just like pulling a random university out of my head. I wasn't saying like you guys are the worst. You guys come up with it. No, like just any like not for profit
Mhm.
source would have been, in my mind, a lot better for that revenue, I guess.
Of course. Well, and see, the problem, like you had said earlier, is it's not that people are just for profit. They're for profit, like 5,000% markup, like you were talking about.
Mhm.
And I just feel like that's what it's like. It shows you so much of what's wrong with America. I was talking to a friend who lives in the UK. They are already doing vaccines out there, and they're doing, the high risk, people first, elderly, and then they're moving on. But no one's paying a penny for it. They're making it easily accessible. They're putting it all over the place, so it's not a hassle to get. And that's how you should do things like that when you've got what, over 200,000 people dead, right? Is that where
Yeah,
we're at now?
Yeah.
exactly. So no, absolutely. It's that does kind of remind me of a video that I had seen a few months ago. I think it was like these people going on the street in England, and they're basically like, "Hey, how much do you think Americans pay for, you know, an ambulance ride to the hospital?" And like hearing their answers based on like their own experience with healthcare is kind of mind blowing.
Oh, it's
Um,
shocking.
yeah, like I think like the like just about everybody was like, in my example, ride to the hospital by an ambulance, and like every single one of them was like, it's free, right? No, it is
No.
not free. We have to pay to get a ride to the hospital. Yeah, actually, as a matter of fact, they bill you if they like take a look at you.
Yeah,
Like,
they bill you for the ambulance ride, obstructing traffic. They bill you for any medicine they give you, any care that they give you. At minimum, you're looking at $1,000 for an ambulance ride. If
Minimum.
not, yeah, if not
Bare
more.
minimum.
Yeah.
because I went to school with a girl who suffered from epileptic seizures, and they had installed smart boards in every single classroom, and I guess every single person whose hands that decision went through missed the epileptic seizure warning. Um, and she had a seizure in the middle of class, and the 911 was called, and they got her on a gurney and took her to the hospital for checkup. She got billed $6,000.
Oh my god.
And I just remember her like coming back out to school after a couple days and being like, "Hey guys, so if I have another seizure, do not call 911. Just turn me on my side and let me like deal with it." Like, and just like that is heartbreaking. That's like
It's so
horrible.
sad. No,
Yeah.
yeah. There's tags. There's literally people who have seizures like that, or other things that happen where you can't really speak for yourself, that have to wear tags that say like "Do not medically help,"
Mhm.
because that's such a thing, and it's ridiculous. Um, I don't remember the exact cost, but my ex-boyfriend, the one who lives in the UK that I was talking about, when he was 18, he had a brain aneurysm. And when I found that out, I didn't really know at the time that like it was completely free in Italy and the UK and all that where he grew up. And we had gotten into a discussion about it, and I had told him how lucky he was, like that he didn't live in America. And we got into a long discussion with his family because I explained to him like if you had been an American, your family would be in debt for the rest of your life. And we sat down and I Googled just a lot of like generic hospital costs and stuff like that. And just roughly going over like his 2 month stay in the hospital, the surgeries, the recovery, like all that kinds of stuff. I guesstimated that it would have cost them anywhere between $1 to $1.5 million. And like when I told them that, they were shocked. Like they couldn't believe it.
Jeez.
They couldn't believe it. And I was like, yeah, no, that's why Americans are so afraid of receiving medical care, and so many people are like dirt poor. It's not cheap. If you
Yeah,
don't have insurance, or even if you do have insurance, but even if you don't have insurance, you're just completely screwed at that point in time when you have something like that that's really severe and you don't know. You can't plan a brain aneurysm. It's not something you can detect early on.
yeah. I mean, but like honestly, I do kind of feel like there's probably some sort of correlation between the cost of like getting medical assistance and the sheer amount of Americans that like die in their bed. You know what I mean? Just like it's crazy. Like people in our country would rather suffer through some sort of really horrible, debilitating like disease than have to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars um, to seek attention for it, basically. And that's just it's crazy. But yeah, no, it's like yeah, $6,000 just for having a seizure in class once. Like I can't even imagine.
Well, and imagine how many times that's probably happened to her and her poor family.
Yeah. I actually kind of semi story time. I had gotten years ago at this point. I had gotten a cyst in my neck. It's kind of hard to see, but I have like a scar here. Um, I had a cyst in my neck that just kind of like started like expanding out of control. It looked like I had a huge goiter. Um, and I it started obstructing my windpipe, so I had to go to the emergency room. So back up a little bit. I had actually gone to like a regular doctor visit, just because like at that point it was just like really painful, but like I could still breathe just fine. And the doctor was just like, like here, take some anti-inflammatory medication, and you'll probably be fine. And like she was very openly like, I don't know what it is, but we're just gonna try this out. Like didn't even care about the fact that it was like I could feel it pressing on my throat and things like that. That night I had to go to the emergency room, and they like I ended up having to have like emergency surgery, and I had to stay in the like in inpatient for like 3 days, I think, just to like recover and things like that. And they originally sent me the bill before my insurance was like charged, and it was like $63,000. And like
Mhm.
a big part of it was like they had actually like because it was the same hospital that had gone to the doctor's office and went to the emergency room, and it was technically in the same day. So they had like tacked it all together, and they wanted to charge me. I think it was like $350 just to go um in to be told that they didn't know what it was, and told me to take what basically was Advil. Like they want to charge me $350 for that. And then obviously like staying at the hospital, they charged me, I think it was like $15 for the meals that I was eating, and I was just eating breakfast, lunch, and dinner. was like $15, like all kinds of crazy stuff. Of course, after insurance, it was closer to like 1,500, which is still outrageous for, you know, going and seeking assistance for something that was literally stopping me from being able to breathe. But yeah, no, it's wild. And like it's I guess it's just absolutely insane that things like that, you know, like that we haven't sought an alternative to the healthcare system that we have.
Yeah, it's a shame. And I feel like most people know someone who's either been in that situation or a situation similar. And it also goes to kind of into malpractice issues because doctors are more worried about just getting people in and out and not really trying to help them and figure out what's wrong with them, or at least in my life and the people that I've known. Maybe this isn't a true universal thing. But I've known so many people who their doctors, like yours, just dismissed it and said, "Oh, you'll be fine. Oh, this or whatever. Just take this," and don't try to help them, and they've had serious medical issues later on, or
Mhm.
just health issues. I have a friend who hasn't known it, but she thought she had a gluten intolerance, and it actually turns out that she has like a serious disease, which is incredibly obvious if you pay attention to her symptoms. She works for a chiropractor now, and this lady is like a holistic chiropractor, and she literally started this job a month ago, and her boss walked up to her the other day and was like, "Have you ever been tested for X, thing?" And she was like, "No." And she was like, "You have like all the symptoms. I don't think you're gluten intolerant. I think you have X disease." And so she went and got it per her boss. The boss paid for it. Yeah, she's had this disease her whole life. She's been dealing with all kinds of like stomach issues and all this stuff that's totally avoidable. She just needs a simple pill, and she would have been fine. And instead, she's been dealing with it for literally, I think she's 27, so like 20 years now.
Wow.
Crazy.
And obviously, like that's a very mild case, but I'm sure it happens to people with either cancer or just more serious. I don't want to just say cancer because there's a lot of serious diseases, but just a serious case of whatever you have.
Hmm. So, Dylan, did you want to say anything?
No.
Okay, I just kind of felt like you were trying to like I kind of felt like you were trying to edge in every so often, so I was like, I'm gonna give you the floor, but I hate to like suddenly change topics like this, especially since that got a lot heavier than I expected it to, which is fine. Um, I did want to discuss something that happened today. Um, Dylan informed me that it was actually at 5 o'clock Mountain Time. I thought it was 6 o'clock, but Cyberpunk 2077 finally released. Um, I know it's kind of whiplash, like kind of going between those two topics, but Cyberpunk 2077, a game that was released 2012. I mean, it was announced 2012, and it has gone through many delays. Is finally upon us. I kind of wanted to discuss a few different things about it. First off, I guess, are you guys excited or going to play Cyberpunk?
I'm gonna make Dylan go first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited just viewing I mean, at least from what I saw, the trailers and everything, it looks beautiful. It looks like GTA, but futuristic, I guess. I mean, I personally did not pre-order it. I'm gonna wait to see how everybody likes it first, but from what I'm hearing so far, it's a good one for sure.
I feel like it's been overhyped personally. Like going back to what you said about it being beautiful. Most games that are made nowadays are beautiful. We have so much technology. I don't feel like that's something you can really credit
Fair.
to anybody, because if you're not making a gorgeous game, what are you doing with your life? Again, it's 2020. So it is beautiful. I'm not saying it's not, but that's just, you know what I mean? It looks so overhyped and it's been delayed so much. I just feel like if you have high expectations, you're probably going to be disappointed. So it's better to set the standards low.
Yeah, no, I would 100% agree. I actually did pre-order it. I got paid this morning, and one of the first things that I did when I woke up was actually got on GOG.com and bought it. And I actually, when I finished work, I started downloading, and it finished like maybe 20 minutes before we started this podcast. So I have it. I pre-ordered it. I downloaded it. and I'm ready to play it. I'm gonna be playing it on stream, which may or may not start. I might do a short stream tonight, just like character creation and like getting everything set up. Who knows? We'll see later. But I'm definitely excited for the game. I feel like for me personally, the amount of delays had actually really dampened the amount of hype that I was experiencing. Because it was just kind of like I'm definitely one of those people that's like when I hear about something, I'm like, okay, that's kind of interesting. And then like as it gets closer to release, I kind of like start ramping up with my excitement. And like so like I would get to the point where it's like, oh my gosh, it's about to come out, and then it was like delayed. And it just kind of like, you know, it just kind of felt like it was just a tease at that point. So the constant delays did kind of dampen the excitement for me just a little bit. Um but over the last couple of days I did kind of start getting to that point where I was really excited about it again. Um and I am definitely a big proprietor of not pre-ordering. But I did kind of feel like I did also owe it to the developers to get it because as soon as possible because they've been working so hard. I think it was a headline issue for a very long time that CD Project Red basically had announced that they were crunching, and every single um delay of the game was just, to me it was like, that's 21 more days that they're going to have to be crunching, and 21 more days that they're going to be like having to work nonstop and like just continue working on this game. Like, as much as for me the excitement was like just kind of being dragged out, I'm pretty sure every single time a delay was announced for them, it was that crunch time, that like stress was being dragged out. So I kind of felt like I did owe it to the developers to purchase it as soon as possible, just to kind of show, that in my very, very incredibly small way, that I appreciated it. And but I do feel like the hype did get way overblown, just like across the board, and that kind of like comes with its own dangers. Um, I mean, just look at the reviews that have been coming out over the last couple days. Not wholesomely entirely positive, and it's really upsetting. And I think it's because people were just getting way so overhyped. Like I think the majority of people are going into this game thinking this game is going to change my life, and it is. And like it's just a game. It's not the end all be all. It's not like like the Messiah. It's it's a video game. It is what it is. And I really feel like the hype for that game was just really, it created its own beast.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it's kind of the same thing with like when The Last of Us 2 came out. You know what I mean? That game was so hyped up, and it gets to a point where you can't do so much better than you did before. There's just so much hype that there's no way you're going to be able to satisfy everybody and meet that craving that people have for something better or at least equivalent to what you had done before.
Yeah. But I just kind of feel like a lot of the reviews, I've for the most part I've been staying away from reviews because I don't always think that they're a very accurate way, portrayal of the quality of the game. That I have many experiences in my past where I paid attention to those reviews and I missed out on a really good game, or I paid attention to those reviews and I end up getting a game that I ended up absolutely hating. So for the most part, I like to stay away from reviews. Um, but from what I have heard, people are just being super unfair. To when it comes to Cyberpunk 2077. Again, I have not played it yet, so I don't have any first hand experience. But I just kind of feel like the criticisms that I've seen about Cyberpunk 2077 have been, I I guess, uncalled for. Like I just kind of feel like the expectation just kind of like started snowballing and like got out of hand, and I fear that um that they're going to consider it a failure because that people's expectations kind of just like expanded out of control. Because I think CD Project Red, they had announced, I don't even know how long ago, that they basically said that there was like anything lower than like a 90% like score they consider a failure. And I feel like yeah, exactly. I mean, like they make very good games, but I just kind of feel like the media has, and like the media and I guess the gaming community at large has really so overhyped this game inside their head that it is not going to meet that 90%.
Yeah, well, and you also got to think too that the big reviewers, right? Their job is literally to pick games apart and pick out the things that they don't like about it. And like you said, for something that's so overhyped already, it's like a double whammy, I feel like, for them.
Dylan, have you been paying attention to any of the reviews?
I honestly no. I mean, I've been listening to people talk it up. I mean, there was one. I'm not going to say this dude's name, but he came into Micro Center. He was having troubles with his desktop. He claimed a whole bunch of stuff wasn't working. So we checked it in. Actually, Marcus was the one who helped him out, and we tried to get his issue resolved. His biggest stipulation was that he had to have his computer back by the time Cyberpunk came out, and it turned out that all of his issues were all environmental related, so at his house. But I mean, just from listening to people, whether it be over the phone or people who come into Micro Center, everybody is just so hyped up about this game, and I do agree it's super overhyped, but I don't know. I mean, so many people have been waiting, and like you said, since 2012 for this game to come out. Some people are diehard Cyberpunk fans that just can't get enough of the game. So.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Marcus actually did tell me about that guy, so that's why I kind of started laughing when he started bringing it up. But yeah, no, I definitely feel like they're at this point, and I kind of like have this expectation for Cyberpunk for like the last couple of weeks. Like, there is no way this game is going to live up to the expectation that people have set for it. And like it's a little too soon to say, but like, is this game going to be so overhyped that it's like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like it's not given its due like accolades, I guess. And that would be really unfortunate. Like I said, I'm really excited to play it myself. Have it downloaded, ready to jump on stream whenever whenever I have the opportunity to. And but yeah, no, I'm definitely excited for it. I did want to bring up the uh the trans inclusivity in the game, which I'm super happy to see. Um I'd seen that basically, like, well, I mean, like, it's pretty much been known that your characters presenting gender does not have to match the their the genitalia you can customize for them. And I think that's really cool. I personally think that things like that need to be more available.
It needs to be common. It just needs to be a common thing that's included on every. I get when you're playing one very specific storyline and like you have to have a set character for a storyline, but if it's something where you get to customize your character at all, there should be the options for it. There's no reason there shouldn't be.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I definitely think that queer gender people, and I actually don't know. I kind of hesitate to use that term because I don't know if queer gender is still like an okay term to use. But so I apologize anybody who listens to this. If it's not, I apologize. I'm just ignorant. But I definitely think that queer gendered people should definitely be more celebrated in media and things like that. Like, I recently played Tell Me Why by Don't Nod. If you guys haven't played it yet, it is a fantastic game. It is so good, and one of the main characters, because you play as twins, one of the main characters is a trans male, and the story is pretty centric to that character's transitions. Um, and I thought it was a beautiful game. I thought it was great. I think it really captured the kind of like things that trans people have to go through. Of course, I'm just looking at this from the outside. I'm not trans, but I felt like it gave really good insight into the type of things that trans people have to deal with, and I think that's really cool that we have games coming out like Tell Me Why and Cyberpunk where you can choose to be a trans character. I think that's great. I think the more inclusive, the better.
I think we'll get to that point. I feel like we went through a stage where like everything was just like men centered, and we've gotten to the point where now women are included and there's like strong female characters in shows and games and movies and all that. And I feel like the next step will be inclusive of, you know, trans people or, you know, whatever you may identify as. I feel like we're going to start being more inclusive of those people as well.
Yeah.
Hopefully. Fingers crossed.
But I mean, even going back a couple years, Sense8 was very, very. Well, I mean, that show is very gay. Let's be honest. But the fact that they had a trans character played by a trans woman was amazing, and also not like, don't even get me started on, you know, Laverne Cox, trans icon, amazing, beautiful woman. Also being able to play trans characters in TV shows instead of basically being forced into prostitution roles in movies and things like that. I definitely feel like, for the most part, things are going in a good direction for the trans community. And I know that there's a huge gap that still needs to be filled for trans people, but I think I always warms my heart to see these little bits, you know, that community is getting. They have a lot to celebrate. I mean, they could be celebrating more, but they have a lot to
We'll get there. It's an improvement compared to 10 years ago, and 10 years from now, you know, we'll be a lot better. We have to continue to do that.
Yeah. But yeah, no. So the character customization, I was happy to see that it included trans options. I did also read that there was like problems with kind of tying back to the thing that I was talking about earlier, the girl that I went to high school with. There are issues tied to epileptic seizures in the game. There's a lot of sequences that can trigger photosensitive epilepsy, and that seems like a bit of an oversight. You know, that they didn't include a way to disable that.
Yeah, that's rough.
I do worry about the people who are streaming it, that, you know, maybe the audience doesn't see the warning at the beginning of the game. But they did announce that they are going to be releasing a patch to basically remove those effects, which is really cool. And also, just kind of PSA, anybody who might be listening that is going to be streaming Cyberpunk, there is also options to cover up the nudity so that you can safely stream it on Twitch. So yeah, definitely keep that in mind.
I think it's great that games are learning to add filters like that and being more inclusive of Twitch. You know, as shooty as some of the rules are on Twitch, I like that games realize that a lot of their advertisement and a lot of the people who can't play but choose to watch are watching on Twitch, and they're making those options possible for content creators.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think that we're seeing a divide between developers and producers that support, you know, content creators and the ones that don't. But that seems like it would probably be its own conversation of itself, so probably won't get into it.
We'll save that one next time.
Yeah, episode 2.
Yeah.
But we're almost at time. It's almost been an hour. Was there any other things that you guys wanted to say or mention really quick before we sign off?
I think we covered most of at least the big discussions that we wanted to get out of the way. I think next time we definitely need to follow up on the vaccine chat, because hopefully by then we'll have a little more news on it and, you know, kind of be able to have a little bit more of opinion educated, because we'll have more information for sure on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. Definitely want to. There's a lot of topics that I am itching to discuss, and I hope that we can get to them in future episodes. But thank you guys so much for joining me. Chey, is there is there any like things that you wanted to like plug or anything like that, or
Don't forget to follow, and if you can, make sure that you come and hang out and watch the streams. Mimo plays lots of fun games. Sometimes we do Phasmophobia together, and you can listen to me scream like a little girl.
yes, Phasmophobia is awesome. And what about you, Dylan?
Yeah, I mean, just come hang out. You don't want to miss the thick Marcus behind Emilio sometimes. But other than that, is chill. Come and hang.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for joining me. It has been awesome. I'm going to upload this audio to Anchor, who's the podcast host that I decided to go with, and it will be available on all of the major podcast streaming services a couple days later. So I'm really excited about that, and I hope that everybody decides to subscribe once it's available. So thank you guys so much. I'll talk to you guys later, okay?
Have a good night.
Have a good night.
Good night, everybody.